hands in the motherfucking air.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Right, second video for the channel and a breakdown over the spray paint DIY backyard job. So as you can see from the intro, pretty much a full spray job in my backyard. I'm going to break down everything from equipment use, process, problems I face, end result. Yeah, so let's get into it. So here you can actually see a bit of a close-up of the state the paint is actually in on the car. This is actually a lot of house product paint. It's just thick, yuck, really dried on there, all over the car, drip marks. Yeah, it was full on. It was in a bad way and took a long time to sand, very long time, to the point where some spots still had imperfections, but the end goal was to get it one color, so when I do get to the track it's at a decent standard. So pretty much just want to learn on the way and give it a crack and see what I could do. Yeah, so the first goal was to actually see if I could paint, so I thought, why not do a test panel, and I thought I'll start with the front guard. So I sanded that back by hand to get it back as smooth as possible. Primed it with the super cheap primer, as well as this, got the color match for the golden glow out of the super cheap brand color spec, and pretty much gave it a crack. So this was all out of a can, but as you can see here in the video, there is a few run spots, and that wasn't actually the paint running, it was just my prep in not sanding back some of those blue drop marks that you see from the prepping image. Yeah, so after that I thought, geez, I could spray this whole car in, and pretty much my options were get 20-25 cans color match to do a full car, or get 2 liters of color matched color spec paint out of a tin and spray through a compressor, which I hadn't done before either. So after some contemplation I thought, why not, let's give it a... So here's the spray gun I use. It's a Black Ridge spray gun from Super Cheap, gravity fed. It's about $110. Yeah, so you can see me playing with the hose there. I didn't actually put any thread tape on it, so I was losing a little bit of PSI through the hose, but didn't really affect how the gun actually sprayed. Yeah, moving on to the compressor. Standard compressor, 2.7 horsepower. Pretty much that's what I had it set up there as. So I had the pressure coming out of the hose around 25 to 30 psi, and the gauge on the left was the air in the tank, which took me a little bit of time to get that right. Alright, so here we have the final product of the prep before I hit it with the primer. A lot of this is sanded with an orbital sander, was not sanding the whole car by hand, which definitely helped a lot to get some of the paint back. I was in a rush, not a rush, but had a deadline to get this ready so I could get the engine in. So pretty much I was just going for it to get this thing one colour. But you can see here that it's prepped and primed, ready to go, but you can almost see some of the streaks and how rough it is. But yeah, moving on to the next part. Right, so here we have the final end product. So I was absolutely spewing with the bonnet, the roof and the boot. Had the gun set wrong, and I wasn't getting the best spray out of the nozzle. It was actually spraying a very small distance, so that's on me, and I learned a lot there. But overall, a lot of the guards and doors came out pretty good. Not sure if it was the angle I was spraying at, but definitely learned a lot. But you can see here in the sun some of the streaks of the gun. But I think the major issue was the prep with the primer. The primer out of the tin went on really rough compared to the can, and I believe I didn't sand the primer back enough to make it as smooth as possible, and I don't think I let it set for long enough. So essentially I wet and dried it the next morning after I primed it the afternoon before, and I tack offed it as well afterwards before I hit it with the orange, and it must have still been wet or damp, so as I was sanding I got different levels of primer, so when the orange is grabbed it's just not looked overly good. But as I said, for what it's going to be used for, I'm pretty happy and I learned a lot here. I also wanted to touch on something that happened with me potentially rushing this process a bit, and that was actually ruining the first base coat of orange, which I mentioned I sprayed on too quickly and the primer wasn't prepped properly, and it looked terrible. It looked like a rusty orange. It just was not it. So I bit the bullet, slept on it, got up next morning, and I sanded and sanded and sanded the whole car again, and I sanded off the whole first base coat. So then pretty much what this layer these layers were painted on was a mixture of primer and base coat, which was actually prepped properly, and it was smooth. So yeah. Alright, on to the last step, which was the front bumper, rear bumper, mirrors and door handles. I didn't really want to sand those back, and also it was the strips down the middle of the doors. I didn't want to sand those back, obviously because they're that plastic material, and sanding the graffiti off that just wasn't working. So I pretty much just smoothed it over with some 1300 and hit it with some matte black out of a can, and then 3 layers of that, and then 3 layers of clear, and pretty much got it back on. But at this stage I was so stoked, I was getting so close to getting it back together. I didn't put enough prep around the door handles, as you can see, so I got a bunch of black overspray on the doors, which I'll have to clay bar off, but that's the least of my worries. Yeah, but as you've seen, the finished product was pretty good. Definitely learned a lot, definitely made a lot of mistakes, but overall the compressor cost me $600, and each 500ml of the Golden Glow was just over $100, so it's $200 there in paint, plus the cans, plus the primer. I did have to buy an extra 500ml because of my stuff up painting on the primer that wasn't prepped properly, so I probably spent around $1,000. It could have been cheaper if I didn't make a mistake, but it is what it is. These photos here at the end are of the car when it was loaded up on the trailer. It was off to my friend's workshop, and we're gonna work on the next step, which was pulling the engine out and putting the replacement RB30 in. So hopefully that'll be the next video, and yeah, so hopefully that'll be the next video. Will be the old engine coming out, new engine going in, all the things I face with that. So yeah, haven't actually pulled an engine out before myself. Always tinkered with cars, general servicing, but haven't done this level of a build, but enjoying it and learning a lot on the way. So